everyone, and welcome to BookTrib's 15 Minutes with, a Merrimass Media production. Today we are thrilled to welcome romance author Carolyne Aarsen. Carolyne has written for Love-inspired Harlequin since 1997. Her series include Big Sky Cowboy, Lone Star Cowboy League, and Refuge Ranch, plus many others. And her Holmes Crossing series, which is also another wonderful series that she's written. Most recently, though, her new series, Cowboys of Cedar Ridge, is just out, and releasing first in that series is Courting the Cowboy, which you can get in paperback now. Thank you so much for joining us, Carolyne. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
Absolutely. Well, we're glad to have you. Now, let's chat first about Courting the Cowboy. Tell us kind of about the characters in this story, where we're at, and where you see this series going.
Okay, the characters in the story basically are Ella, who's the heroine,
Okay.
and she moves on to this little cabin on a ranch. She got the information from her mother,
Okay.
and she moves on to this little cabin to kind of give herself a little bit of space from a bad situation she was in. She needs to kind of get her feet under her, and she wants to sort of have her privacy. And the book starts off with these three little kids getting dumped on her doorstep, who live in the house a lot closer by than she thought they were going to be. And because the babysitter decided she didn't want to take care of them anymore. So that's kind of how the story starts. And here she's got these three little kids on her doorstep. She doesn't know what to do with them. Then all of a sudden the father shows up, and he's, of course, all upset. And you can sort of see that there's some tension. She's not really comfortable with the kids. I sort of raised the question. I don't answer it right away. Of course, she's not really comfortable with the kids.
Gotcha.
And the father kind of sees that. And anyway, so that's essentially how the story starts, and that's sort of the situation I put her in, and those are the characters. So the Ella is the heroine, Cord is the hero, and the father, and then there's these three fun kids who, sort of kind of invade her space and push her into a place she doesn't necessarily want to be.
So what else can we expect, or what else is coming in the series that you might be able to talk about?
Okay, well, this is the first in a series of 4. It was going to be longer. We decided to keep it at 4. And it's based on sort of the overarching story is about an arena and a group, an association that wants to get this. They have a little rodeo in Cedar Ridge. This little town has a rodeo, and they want to get the rodeo in a larger organization so that they can get a little more, they can get better cowboys coming in. Anyways, I went and researched this, and so that's the deal. But the arena is run down, and there's a story behind the arena. And so every story deals with one more step in getting this organization, getting the bigger rodeos involved in their little rodeo. So that's sort of the overarching story. So each other book is going to deal with different aspects of what's happening in the town and with this whole rodeo thing. So the second book is about a girl whose father actually started running or built the arena and skipped town, leaving a whole bunch of people with, debts. And so the heroine's trying to fix that problem. And then, and the third book I'm actually working on right now, it's about a guy who actually comes to, I'm getting a little confused here. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Assessment on the arena. That's right. He has to do an assessment on the arena, and the fourth book is about a guy who actually comes to fix it up. So that doesn't sound real interesting, but every story, of course, that's just the overarching conflict. But every story there's a guy who's a widower who comes with a kid, and how he tries to keep the heroine and him have had a past, history, and anyway, so that's the basic 4 books in that series.
Okay, well, that sounds exciting and things to look forward to. And those are coming out throughout 2017 into 2018. When can that be expected?
Yes. Actually, the second book is coming out in June. And the third book, which will have a strong Christmas theme and redemption between father and son, is coming out in Christmas. Actually, that one I just finished. And then I'm not sure when the next one is scheduled.
Okay, so good things to look forward to.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So you've written, as I've mentioned, you've done a lot for Love Inspired. What is it about the series? What do you like writing about the books for Love Inspired that keeps you coming back and keeps you there?
I love working with the editors. The organization at Harlequin's been fantastic. They've been really good in, doing promotion and support. I like the fact that I get, good, strong editing, and I've gotten really good direction in how I've actually learned more about how to write books by working for Harlequin. So that's been great.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I've always liked romance. I like writing it. I like the fact that with Love Inspired, I'm able to incorporate my faith into the storylines. So, bringing an extra dimension to that. So I'm always happy about that. But no, I've always been very thankful. In fact, in April, it's going to be 20 years since I got my first phone call buying my first book. So
that's so exciting.
Yeah. It was in April of '97.
That's wonderful. Well, that's an exciting thing to celebrate. Quite a monumental occasion.
Yeah, no, it was.
So tell me, as far as your writing style goes, sometimes authors really like to put something very specific to their writing in their books. Is there anything specific that you like, maybe a writing element that you include that you're sure to include in every book? Or maybe it's, as you said, you like to talk about your faith as well in the book.
I think my tagline kind of says it. I don't put it everywhere, but it's sort of a tagline, coming home to family and faith. So I think I write lots about reconciliation, families getting together, people getting back together, returning to their faith. Yeah, I like to think that I bring in family and community a lot into my stories, and how we need each other to work through problems that we've had, and how we can depend on each other. So I think I like to bring all of that. And of course, I love writing about the country. I live out in the country. I always say we live at the intersection of no and where. It's like it takes me, if I want to go get groceries, I'm probably driving for about 20 minutes to the closest grocery store. And that's all over country roads. So, but I love living out in the country. I grew up in the city, but I love living in the country. And I always like to bring that love of country into my stories as well. And small communities, small towns. So I think I always put those are probably for sure elements in my stories.
Absolutely. Now, I read that you live in a Dutch community. Does that play in at all as far as your storytelling or anything?
The Holmes Crossing series, I probably brought that out the strongest, the Dutch names and the whole, ambiance of living in a Dutch community. But that wasn't for Love Inspired. I try and throw in a few Dutch names here and there, just to sort of give it that little bit of flavor.
Absolutely.
But I don't think it's necessarily the Dutch part of the community that I emphasize as much as the community and the fact that it's a very strong faith-based community as well.
Okay. Ever wonder or maybe think about in the back of your mind, I'd love to try another genre, or there's a story I really want to tell, but it's in a different genre. One day I'll write it. Anything like that?
Yeah. I love reading fantasy, and I've always had this sort of story in the back of my mind that's been sort of hovering. But the reality, of course, is anytime you shift into another genre, you can't just do it with a single book. You need a series. Right. And that's where things got stuck for me. I had this picture in my head of this girl who worked in a library, in this big fantasy setting. And yeah, of course, I was creating the world whenever I was bored, but I never did manage to get into that. There's also more of a women's fiction-y type story that I've got, hovering in the back of my mind with a murder that's involved and, that kind of stuff. But again, I know I need to do more than one book. So that's been what's kind of holding me back until I get like a second book. I think I'd probably do the women's fiction book quicker than the fantasy, just because fantasy requires such heavy duty world building. And the books that I've enjoyed the most, the fantasy books I've enjoyed the most, have really strong, detailed worlds. And I know how much work that is. It's hard enough building a community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a few things I'd like to do. Yeah, but
Interesting. Okay. So I want to talk about a few minutes about Big Sky Cowboy series. Where are we in that series? What do you have coming up for it? What can you talk about?
well, Big Sky Cowboys is a series that's finished
Oh,
already.
it's done.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The one that I'm working on now, the Courting the Cowboy is the first one of the Cowboys of Cedar Ridge. So
Okay. Oh, I
yeah,
thought
that's
I must have misunderstood on your website. I thought that it had said that, or maybe they just released. Did it just release the final book in the series?
yes,
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
The
that's what it
final
is.
book in the series, I actually have it right here.
Ah,
Cowboys
oh, what a
Christmas
great
Baby. I know
cover.
it's adorable.
Love it.
And that one was the last one in the Big Sky Cowboy series.
Got it. So
That one came out.
how did that feel then, kind of wrapping that series up and saying goodbye to the characters a little bit?
Well, it's always a little hard because you sort
Yeah.
of get, like I always like bringing in, the characters from the other stories, but I knew it was only going to be 3 stories. So there was kind of a nice feeling of bringing everything to completion and having everyone show up in the last scene. I've got a Santa scene and a proposal scene, and it's actually kind of fun to bring everyone back together again. Um, I find if I start going too much longer than 4 or 5 books in a series, I start to lose track of all the characters, and it becomes really hard sometimes to, okay, who was the waitress again, and who did own the grocery store? So that gets a little tricky. So sometimes it's kind of nice to start fresh with a new batch of characters in a new place and a new community. But I have learned,
Definitely.
learned the hard way. Keep very close track of your characters and where stuff is located.
It's so funny because actually my next question is, you have so many books, different storylines. How do you keep the characters straight, the stories straight, know the differences? Do you have like a spreadsheet somewhere? How does all of that stay clear for you?
Well, when I'm doing a series, I use an awesome writing program called Scrivener. Just a little plug in here for Scrivener, and it's
Okay.
great. It's a really good program. It helps me keep track of, like, I'm able to keep all my books in a little sidebar and all my character references and what my characters look like for each separate book. And so I can kind of even jump in between, and I've got a main timeline
Oh,
that I can
interesting.
access anytime. It's a really good program. I would recommend anyone who does a lot of writing to look into it. And that's how I keep track of each particular series. But I do have to confess, there have been times when a book comes back to me for editing, and I'm like, oh, who are these people again? Like, because I'm so into my current story, it's like,
Right.
then I have to shift gears and jump back and think,
Yeah, it's a
oh,
lot.
yeah, that's right. That's what they were dealing with. And that was the problem. So I do have that at times. And there have actually been times where I've got a letter from a fan and say, oh, I just love this book. And I'm like, uh, which one was that again? Because once I'm done, I kind of put them aside and then I'm
Absolutely.
on to the next one. So yeah.
Definitely. Well, what about you as a reader? What do you like to read? Is there anyone out there that, you absolutely have to read every one of their books, or are you more all over the place? What do you like?
I really like good, strong women's fiction. I actually just finished reading Jodi Picoult's latest book.
So good.
She's such an amazing writer.
Hmm.
Although I have been, some of her books I wasn't always crazy about the ending, and which I think speaks well to how well she was able to pull you in.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I think I like murder mysteries actually.
Okay.
That's what, well, of course, it wasn't a murder mystery, but it had a court scene. I do like courtroom drama stories. Right now, I'm reading The Woman in Cabin 10, and that's
Oh,
pretty
I've heard of that.
intriguing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one just came out. I also just finished Lion, which is an autobiography of a story of a young boy who's adopted as a young child and then moves to Australia and ends up going back to his roots. So, yeah, I'm kind of all over the place. If a book really draws me in, and it's got good characters and a compelling story and a wonderful sense of place, I'll give it. I'll read it. So
Excellent. Now, tell me, what about what's next? We talked about the the Cedar Ridge Cowboy series that you have, so that's coming through 2017 into 2018. Is that the only series you're working on at the moment, or are there other things coming down the pike?
Well, because this was a 4-book series and I generally have been signing 6-book contracts, I've got to come up with another 2 books. And I thought, well, I'm just going to make it 2 rather than try and fiddle into another contract. So, and that one, actually that story came to me. I remember I had this picture in my head of a girl with a guitar case standing on the side of the road and it's raining. And so then I thought, okay, what brings her there? And then the hero picks her up. And then we find out there's history between them. And so that's a story of 2 brothers. So the one story is about the one brother whose girlfriend dumped him and took off with his younger brother. And that's who the girl with the guitar case is. And then the next story is about the younger brother who's kind of wild and crazy, and he's got to learn to settle down, and he comes back to the ranch and meets up with the girl who's planning his brother's wedding. And anyway, so yeah.
I love it. That sounds exciting.
That one's actually good. I think it's going to be kind of fun because it's only the 2 books, so I don't have to keep track of as many people.
Right, exactly. Well, that's wonderful. Well, Carolyne, I can't thank you enough for joining us, and it's been a blast talking about Courting the Cowboy, which everyone go download it, grab it in paperback, however you prefer to read it. It's out now, so definitely go grab it. And thank you so much. We look forward to all the new stuff that's coming up too.
Okay, well, thanks for talking. I really enjoyed it. You
Absolutely.
take care.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.
Bye.